And Governor Chris Sununu was sworn into office for his second term last week. And in his inaugural address, he quoted Dumbledore from Harry Potter, saying, quote, "Our choices show what we truly are far more than our abilities." Here to discuss his choices for the next biennium, Governor Chris Sununu. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
So one of the most intriguing aspects coming out of your second inaugural address had to be those New Hampshire Career Academies. It's a fifth year of high school for people who choose. They can go to community college. You get the diploma, certificate, associate's degree, and it's free of charge to the student. So who picks up the tab?
So essentially what we're doing is people have to realize in your senior year of high school, that costs about twice as much as a year at the community college. So what we're doing is we're allowing students to take that senior year, split it in two, go for a fifth year, but both years are part of essentially an embedded charter school at the community college. So you get dual enrollment. You'll get your high school diploma, you get your associate's degree, you get a guaranteed job interview, you get a certificate. Everything comes in one package. We're just repurposing the money that's already appropriated for 1 year of senior high school.
Are they traveling to the community colleges, or is this going to, how's it work?
It'll depend. The community colleges, I think, most of them will probably be within the community college itself, but it's kind of works that the dual and concurrent enrollment works today.
And is this happening completely on the executive side, or is the legislature going to play any role in this?
No, it's pretty much on the executive side. We are putting together and have put together an implementation committee. It has folks from the public school system, superintendents, school teachers. Everyone's really involved in making sure, folks on the community college, of course. Everyone's really involved in making sure that this works and works right, because it's such an exciting idea. It's a new idea. It's an innovative idea. It really came from a gentleman, Dean Graziano, over in Rochester, was doing it with some of his students. It was a program with some additional funding that came from Albany Saffron. Those students basically had a hardwired job right into Albany Saffron, one of the state's best manufacturers that's out there. And so we're really just taking that model and taking it now statewide. And it's all about creating opportunity. You don't need necessarily more funding all the time to create great opportunity and more initiative and innovation in our school system.
Another big ticket item from the inaugural address was this commission study on pediatric cancer in New Hampshire. Of course, this state leading the nation in pediatric cancer from 03 to 14. So what are you looking to learn there?
Well, we're looking to learn what the real data is. Like, where are the data points? Are there hot spots? And then from those hot spots, what are the potential causes? Right? We can talk about pediatric cancer, or we can really start getting to the brass tacks of not just what it is, but where it is, what's causing it, and therefore bring real solutions to the table and what to do about it. It's a very serious issue, something we just cannot ignore any longer.
Somewhat along those same lines, the New Hampshire DES just released new drinking water standards for perfluoroalkyl substances, or PFAS. Some advocates on the ground are saying those standards weren't stringent enough, and certainly if you look across the border to Vermont, our levels that are being proposed are much higher in terms of what's allowed in drinking water than what Vermont would allow. So you always talk about it, that's one of the key trusts of government, is that glass of water you hand to your kid. Are you confident that those levels that the DES is proposing are going to protect drinking water?
Very much so. We have a great state epidemiologist. We brought in toxicologists, folks that really looked at the science. When you look at what some other states have done, and I don't mean to be overly critical of Vermont, but their number is actually very arbitrary. Some states have simply picked the lowest level that you can detect in blood levels and water levels and all that, but there's no real science behind it. So we've tried to look at the science, look what's practical, look at the implementation of the solutions that have to be brought to bear in various parts of the states that are seeing this groundwater issue. As you know, I have a background in this. I mean, my job was water sampling for chlorinated solvents year after year. So I'm very passionate about making sure that we get it right, and I think the folks at the Department of Environmental Services have really looked at the science and brought something forward that's practical and that will make sure that we keep people safe.
Very controversial issue this last week in the New Hampshire House. They voted to restore the ban on deadly weapons in the House chamber. Of course, this isn't necessarily your part of the building, but do you believe, as a supporter of the Second Amendment, that the House is now safer or more dangerous?
The House makes their rules. It kind of goes back and forth. Whether it's safer or more dangerous, I'm not really going to say. It's not my rule or my issue per se. At the end of the day, we have a lot of good controls in place. We have security around the State House. I don't think it's any more dangerous or more safe per se, one way or the other. It's the way, it kind of goes back and forth every year.
And some of that debate will probably go to the Executive Council chamber when they decide about the gun ban in the State House. Are you comfortable with executive councilors carrying concealed in meetings, things like that?
Boy, I've never really thought about that, but
you would have to assume that Councillor Wheeler was, probably.
At times he may have been, yeah, sure. Look, it's a public building, and if the council, I don't believe, sets rules for, I don't think they've ever taken up rules for whether weapons or firearms would be brought into the Executive Council chambers. I suppose they could, but, you know, again, either way, we have good security at the State House. I think we're all going to be okay.
So the hub and spoke system for the opioid crisis is up and running. You've got the doorways around the state. What's some of the data or the information that you're looking for in the coming weeks to see that people are actually accessing this and it's working?
I tell you, we're very excited. Hub and Spoke took off this week for the first time, the 24-hour 211 service that anyone can call and should call if they're in a moment of crisis. First few calls came in right on New Year's Day, which was exciting. The hubs are very exciting because they're being placed in areas like Berlin, the North Country, Monadnock, Hanover, places out of the southern tier where typically a lot of the services are provided. What we're really looking for is where are the gaps? The hubs will be there looking for, do we have the treatment services available, the various types of recovery services available, whether it's transitional housing, all the wraparound services that have to encompass an individual on their journey in getting better. You have to make sure that those services are going to be available and provided across the state. That's really what the hubs are out there doing. They'll be collecting that data. They'll be able to kind of follow and track the patients as they go through their process and make sure that they don't fall out of the system. That's where we see a lot of the folks coming, the recidivism, if you will, with they get addicted, they get treated, they're in recovery, maybe they slip, they're addicted, they're treated, they're in recovery, and you have this cycle 4 or 5 times. The hub and spoke is really designed to break that cycle, to make sure that when someone's on a path, they stay on a positive path. If they're having trouble or they slip, we're right with them, kind of holding their hand, if you will, making sure that they're getting better treatment. It ends up with better health for the individual, better pathways for those families, and frankly, much lower costs and a much more efficient system for the state. Parallel
to the opioid crisis, you have the issues at DCYF and reform efforts there. You've added personnel there in the last year, but to get those caseloads down to what the national standard is, you're going to need more people and to fill those spots that are still open. Do you support the effort to continue hiring more caseworkers there at DCYF, or do you feel like you're in a pretty good place?
Well, again, let's fill the spots that are open. I mean, we funded, I think, 30 plus positions within DCYF, real caseworkers, those the groundworkers, not bloated management. We have very good management in there now, actually, but the caseworkers that are working one-on-one with individuals. We still have a lot of those positions vacant and open. Let's get those positions filled, and we'll see where the cases, the caseload comes down to. We've gotten it down pretty substantially. It's still a little higher than I think what we'd like to see, but I think if we can get those vacant positions filled, we'll reassess what the backlog is and then decide, you know, how to go forward. More funding is likely needed, to be sure, but you don't just want to throw more money just for the sake of throwing more money at something. You want to be strategic and careful about how you make those investments, because you simply want to get the best outcomes for the dollar and for the individuals relying on the services.
In your inaugural address, you also emphasized youth suicide prevention. This is something you really want to try and tackle, or at least reverse the trend there. You're going to be trying to get more training for teachers. Are they going to have added responsibilities here, though, to actually identify and act if they see something that is kind of a red flag to them?
Well, I think we all have a responsibility. If whether you're a teacher or an individual citizen walking down the street, if you identify something that could be a threat, that could be an individual child that has a problem or could potentially be in crisis, I think we all have the obligation to stand up. What we're doing is allowing the teachers to now have that training, right? It's suicide prevention training, but it goes along with social emotional learning. It goes along with identifying mental health challenges that these students might be having. You've heard me say it before, it's all about making sure that we're providing services so students with a problem don't become students in a crisis. And I think every teacher would want that type of expertise and training. Martha and Paul Dickey lost their son Jason just over a year ago, and Martha brought this idea to us, and she said, well, here's something called the Jason Flatt Act. Jason Flatt was an individual that took his own life about 20 years ago, but 20 states have implemented this already. I think we need to be the 21st. It really kind of combines part and parcel with a lot of the different issues that we're not just facing in schools, but the new solutions we're trying to bring to the table to make sure everyone is cognizant, everyone has a role and a responsibility, if you will, to making sure that we're providing not just the best service for students in terms of education, but we're actually working with these kids and making sure that we don't end up in crises.
A couple of pure political questions here as we close out the block. You recently spoke out against an effort or a proposal within the NHGOP to end the neutrality rule, essentially have the party come in on the behalf of President Trump if he does face a primary in 2020. That threat has gone away at this point, and you believe the party should remain neutral. But would you welcome a primary challenge to President Trump here in 2020?
Well, I don't know if it's about welcoming a primary challenges. Primary challenges could happen. I'm supportive of the president. I think even if there was a primary challenge, I think President Trump is going to win handily if there were a primary. I've always said, whether you're talking about the planning board or governor or president of the United States, primaries can be very good things in many ways. It allows incumbent candidates to kind of come forward, put their name out there in the spotlight, talk about the initiatives that they've either done, committed to, or are looking to continue to bring to the table. Right now, it looks like the Democrats are going to have all the media, if you will, the talking points as they kind of storm in here. They'll be lining up. They're already coming in. I mean, it's going to be quite a cohort, if you will, of Democrat presidential candidates. I don't think there's anything wrong with Republican candidates coming in and allowing, and in many ways, almost forcing and pushing the president to talk about his initiatives, talk about why he believes there's a wall, talk about why he needs, certain funding in certain areas. Primaries can be a very good thing. I think the president would win handily, of course, but it's not necessarily a bad thing, and it's always good at the party level to stay neutral.
You supported President Trump, or you support him, and you also supported Mitt Romney back in 2012. Of course, now Senator Romney wrote a fairly incendiary op-ed in the last week in the Washington Post, essentially saying that President Trump doesn't have the moral character to lead the nation. Do you agree or disagree?
Well, no, I disagree. I mean, look, Mitt Romney has his own opinions. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Mitt Romney and his family and what he's brought to the table, the service he's brought to the country, frankly. But again, I think the letter was pretty tough written letter. It's probably something that I can't speak for Mitt Romney, but probably something he felt like he had to get off his chest, and that's fine. I mean, people have feel the need and have the right to do that, but I think it probably went a little too far. But I don't think it casts a negative dispersion on Republicans. I don't think it says we're fracturing as a party, anything like that. Everyone has their own opinions, and Mitt has his. He's done some good service and thought it was time to write a letter.